Hello guys, Techsnow here. I'm going to be doing a VOD review of my friend here named Triton. We'll just get straight into it, okay? He's a Diamond 1 player, hovers around like mid to low Diamond on average, and has pretty good game sense, has pretty good aim, but struggles to get into Diamond 3 slash Immortal. And we'll do a little bit of a VOD review on this one ascent game that he has here, and see what maybe he does wrong, see what he can maybe improve on, and this is going to be kind of like more of a tribute video specifically for him, but for also any other Diamond players that are struggling to get into Immortal could also use this guide too, and maybe learn something from it. And a fun little mini game, I would say, is that you guys could try to follow on with what you would maybe do different in this clip. See if you say the same things I say, because then maybe you can kind of learn to see if you also have the same game sense as an Immortal player like me. So let's begin. First of all, we do have him playing on Ascent here as Sova. Now, I have briefly touched on this before, but some of the agents are pretty hard to use, and some of them are... It's okay if you use the harder characters, but Sova, in my opinion, is one of the harder characters to use, and will make it a little bit harder for you to climb unless you're really, really good at him. So, I do warn a lot of people before they try to use characters like Sova, because if they're not very good at him, then they will not have that good impact unlike high Immortal to Radiant Sova players might have. So on the first round here in the buy phase, we're going to be looking at basically what he buys here. So I'm no like Sova player, not some Sova master. I don't play Sova that often, but I can tell you the gist of what is going to be a good thing to do, what is a bad thing to do, and just because he uses a different character than me does not mean that he doesn't have to follow the same guidelines for game sense and aim and stuff like that, and movement, etc. So we see here on the first round, he pulls out his recon dart, and recons, it looks like back of sight here, kind of. I really do think that's a great dart for first of all, and his entry with the shock dart coming out like that, he possibly may have tried to shoot it on top of Heaven, but as you guys can see, it landed sort of underneath it. So, and it reaches sort of back of Jen, but he could definitely sort of aim it a little bit better to hit like the corner of Jen maybe, so he can almost guarantee that he hits someone that's holding that position if they were there. Obviously no one was holding that position, and his recon dart was instantly shot out, so he had unfortunately zero information, which is very unfortunate, and the entire team sort of just crumbles because their Sova threw a dart and no one shot it, so the enemy team basically got full wall hacks on his entire team, and they kind of lost because of that. I personally don't like Ascent, the map by itself, because of the fact that a lot of these plays will revolve, if you're trying to win, will revolve around you taking the mid, which is what they do in round 2, but unfortunately they're only on eco, so they don't really have much of a chance against the specters and marshals and stuff that the enemy team are going to buy. Obviously he throws a dart down mid that he just randomly threw, and he says that it was by mistake, so we'll just ignore that. He does throw a shock dart here and pushes up and realizes that the enemy Reyna is pushed up and instantly kills him. And that's pretty unfortunate. That's just unlucky. Like, he couldn't have really expected that. Pushing and peeking 5 people down mid isn't a terrible idea. So it's not really his fault. He could have maybe held, but how is he going to really expect that? It's kind of hard to understand this early into the game. But you guys will probably realize that this Reyna on the enemy team, after a while, he does catch on to the fact that she does like to push up very often. And so that was really good game sense on him later on that he finds that out. The third round here, he throws his dart on the tree. This is a classic recon dart that you see a lot of Sova players use. And they get just insta-slowed by the chamber on the enemy team, which is very unfortunate. And he does get the trade here, but he becomes low HP in return. And he tries to push out with the enemy chamber, but then gets shot in the back. Now, in this position here, the reason why he died, and something that he could have done, is probably not shift walk while he's walking up with Chamber. Because obviously they know that Chamber is there. The reason why Yoru flashed that lane area is because they heard Chamber running up already. So Triton didn't actually need to walk here, and because of that he got shot in the back. Now, I have a pretty bad habit of doing that as well sometimes, but you gotta realize that if they know where your position is and they already hear you, then there's kind of no reason to walk, especially when your other teammates are running already and giving out your position, so you might as well just run it. On the 4th round here, he instantly puts out a drone and does spot the guy behind Dice. He gives out the call, but unfortunately they're on an eco round. That's a pretty good drone, I'd say, and that dart right there is pretty good as well. Tries to get the shots on Chamber. Unfortunately, that's just, you know, the gun difference because of the eco just makes it so they can't really do much here in this round, so can't really do much about that one. Now, round 5 here, he does have full util, and one thing that I do want to mention is that Triton has a pretty bad habit of not catching orbs. So I'll tell you guys what I mean in a little bit. So he hides here after he realizes that the Reyna has been pushing. I personally would not be holding this angle that close like he is, because if that Reyna was looking his way, she would have saw him first because of the fact that he was holding that angle so close. And because of perspective, she would have saw him, but he wouldn't have seen her. So, but he still gets the kill nonetheless, so it works out. Other than that, that was a very good read on the Reyna, and he lurks up A main as his teammates are pushing up short, which is a good thing to do right here. He could be droning or arrowing right here, and he does do that. He arrows up heaven and then uses his drone to help see if anyone is on top of heaven as well, and spots too because of that play that he did there, which is pretty good. He saves the drone for the second tag as well, which is really big brain of him, I'd say. So I say that was a pretty good play. Now in this position here, his Omen smokes right above him and he can't see anything. So he's kind of just trapped here. And he did hear that the door was getting closed, but he didn't catch on, unfortunately. So if I was him and he has both of his shock darts, I would have ran out to Gen to bounce off my shock darts into heaven because he knew 2 people were there. Because he did have the time to do so, and he did know that the Omen was behind him, and it was probably clear. So as soon as he gets the tag and gets smoked out by Omen, he probably should have just ran out to help at least trade, because Omen was by himself and both of the players were underneath heaven. And that's what the Jet does, because she realizes that she's kind of useless in this position here, and so tries to peek out to trade. And Triton just unfortunately did not know that the door was closed. Next round here, he holds the top position on top of A site here, or A main I should say, to trade with Chamber just in case anyone peeks. He does know that the Reyna likes to push a lot, so he's kind of expecting that. In this position here, the Chamber's pushing up, but he's still up here on top of the ledge. And if I was him, I would drop down, because if the Chamber gets peeked from A site here, he can't trade. He has no ability to trade. So, and he does eventually drop down to help, which is what he should have done way earlier, just in case the Chamber would have died. Of course, Chamber does have a teleport back, but you can still trade or even get a kill because of that, you know? Baiting out the TP for a kill is always going to be worth. He drones out and sees like 2 or 3 people there, and there was a pick on short. So this is where you probably just call the rotate and just go B, especially with the players pushing up middle and B main already. He throws his recon up mid. Now, if I was him, I probably wouldn't have used the recon there, just because even though Sky did flash there, there's probably no way that she like just pushes up there. So what he decides to do is basically sit back and be main with Chamber. This could be a good play, but since he has another teammate behind him, he should probably sit on the right side angle instead, because his Chamber's going to be right behind him. And obviously that puts Chamber out in a bad position and gets him killed. That was definitely Chamber's fault, but Triton could have also positioned a little bit better there. And if he didn't use his recon down mid, maybe he could have used it there for when they were trying to retake, which would have caused them, you know, chaos, and he would have been able to get maybe possibly wall hack kills and etc. And Right here, by the way, guys, if you guys notice, we know that B main is clear and the bomb is not being planted yet, and there's an orb there, but he just walks past it even though he can get ult here. So that's one thing I've really noticed about Triton, is that he never grabs the orbs, which are going to be very, very important for almost every character, actually. No, not almost. It is very important for every character to get your ultimate, because that is one of your most powerful abilities in the game. So him just kind of skipping out on that free orb, and he does this multiple times, is kind of a detriment to his ultimate economy, I guess, his ultimate points. And that's one thing that he could definitely work on, especially when we know that the site's clear. And especially on the attacker side, it's way easier to get orbs usually on maps than it is on defender side on Ascent. So he should be getting the orbs here every time in A main when he pushes up with Chamber. They also left the orb there as well, so he should have grabbed those. This next round here, he does drone out again, gets the tag on Heaven info, and basically clears sight for free with that drone. So that's a very, very good play by him. And he does calm that he has ult, so he pretty much just sits backside to play post plant with his ultimate, which is a very good play and a good call that I would say. But he ends up not needing to use it because his team just cleans it up. So in the next round, he throws the same tree dart again, very, very good dart, and throws his shock darts in logs, which is not a bad play because people could definitely be hiding there. And now they're playing a 4v3 or 3v3 retake now, at least after the Jet got the retake. So he does have ults, and he has position. He knows the position of where they are. He definitely could have pulled it out, but he pulls it out way too late. It ends up getting him killed, and he kind of wastes ult because of it. So in that position, I guess you can say that he kind of hesitated because he didn't think it would have been a good play. But he's defended by both of his players on left and right side, so he could have definitely pulled it out earlier before his Reyna died. So I'd say that he probably could have done that. He drones out mid here, and it's a pretty good play. Helps clear out for Omen and gets a free tag on market, so that's free info for Omen right there. And he basically just holds the short angle here because he does know that there is somebody there, the Reyna, and then he runs back here, so he pulls out his dart and runs out. But unfortunately, he does not win the aim battle against the Sova, and they don't get sight because of that and end up losing the round. Now, in this round, obviously, that was just obviously just like an aim diff there, unfortunately, and his teammate couldn't trade him out. But again, that is another spot where I probably would have grabbed the orb again, and he could have probably grabbed it, but he didn't grab it. And then in this round, he's trying to spam the Sova that's also possibly playing on the other side of the wall. But this time he wasn't playing on the other side of the wall, he was just playing on site. And he does get info that B site might possibly be clear, aside from the Sova being in their spawn, and gets the trade. He gets the trade from the Reyna, but then gets off by Chamber, and that's just an unlucky round, honestly. What he probably could have done instead, maybe, I mean, this is really like heat of the moment, so you probably wouldn't think about this, but he could have, since the bomb was basically dropped in A main and Omen got a pick on the Reyna on A as well, and then is pushing up now, he probably could have just like rotated out after he got that kill, but instead peeks it, and that gets him killed, unfortunately. So in this next round, he pulls out his dart, but then hesitates and doesn't do it. Instead, goes for the jiggle peek here. He does hear that there's someone on the opposite side. So in this position here, though, I definitely would not go for the orb because of the fact that he doesn't have any teammates to trade him or watch the angle for him, and he doesn't know if it's safe or not. He does hear the Reyna on the opposite side here and tries to get the guy behind Dice here. Thinks about putting out the dart, but unfortunately gets just wide peeked by Reyna, and that's just very unfortunate. That was just an unfortunate play. He could have maybe used his dart instead of hesitating, but honestly, you can't really expect a Reyna to just like randomly white peek from such a random angle. So he throws up the drone, the dart here, comes up mid. He's just holding mid with his teammates here, and the team does make the call that they're possibly pushing up B, but he's watching short just in case that they do turn on him. He does get info that there's also someone top mid because of his Omen that just died, and then gets peeked from top mid. And I think it kind of catches him off guard. I'm not really sure. I feel like he knew about the Reyna being there, and that's also just a pretty unlucky round, I'd say, that he just gets like wide swung by her. And I don't think I would have played this any differently, to be honest, aside from maybe just running so he wouldn't be peeked by mid. Now we're going to be starting on the defender side, and instantly throws out a dart that catches a couple people. And that's a pretty good dart there that he does, because it does catch them initially, and it probably stops their push because of that, with the Omen smoke as well. They get info that there's people pushing up short and mid, so he should probably just honestly hold this angle on A main, which is what he's doing, and he does spot one because his teammates are already watching. There's already 3 people watching mid, so he doesn't need to go over there and rotate, at least not yet. Throws out a shock dart just to probably stall maybe, and he throws out his recon to just keep stalling. But it looks like only the Sova is probably there. Now, I don't know if that is the best possible value that he'll get out of his shock darts by using it like that, unless they're already pushing. So I personally would not have used his dart there unless he really thought that there'd be more than like one person trying to like push him already. But that wasn't really the case. It was just Sova trying to like bait utility. He does get the kill on Sova though, because he just runs out. And then he's watching market because he knows people are coming from mid to market to come to B site. He doesn't see anyone. He clears market and comes with the retake as his teammates are pushing out, and spots out the sky, throws out his recon for bait and his arrow, and that was actually a pretty good play. The next round here, since he won the pistol round, he will now have a Spectre and will be using the same recon dart that he did the first round, and spots no one. They get info that there's people coming on B, but there's no bomb drop or anything yet. Him coming through mid here is a pretty good play, just in case that they do rotate, because there is no bomb down. Chamber is pushing up B main here, and he hears them mid, so he does just spray them down with Spectre with gun advantage. And instead of reloading here, he hears the Yoru pushing up, and possibly could have went for the pistol or the shock dart play even, maybe instead, because he hit Yoru a couple times. It might have been to kill him with that shock dart, but he thought that he could get the reload off, and that Spectre reload can be pretty quick sometimes, but sometimes swapping to the secondary might just be the better way to go, especially when you know that they're going to be pushing you because they know you're reloading. The third round here, they're going to be on a bonus round, so he just bought a Sheriff with no armor. He throws out his shock dart here because he knows that they're pushing, which is a pretty good play by him, and actually gets a kill here on eco. So it's actually not a bad play by him right there. I would say the only issue is that this was kind of like his teammate's fault, because his Omen definitely could have covered him from tree, but instead it was not really helping him. He was kind of watching short, even though their Jet was watching mid and their Reyna was also pushed up short already, so there's no reason for him to just be sitting there in tree room trying to smoke it, especially because he already smoked it once. So there's no real point of him doing that here. So it was kind of his teammate's fault for not really helping him trade, but Triton did get a pretty good kill on eco there, or I should say bonus. So he gets info that they're already on A without using any utility, and throws a recon pretty good. His teammate does die because they dropped out already. They went through his smoke and he didn't realize it. He kills the Reyna eye, but gets instantly traded, even though they were kind of on a force buy / eco round. Now in this position here, maybe he could have thrown his shock darts while he's just hiding behind cover here, instead of just sitting. Unless he was maybe expecting a sky flash or something, I'm not really sure, but maybe he was, then I would understand. He does have like a split second or two for him to pull it out before they even push through, so he could have maybe done that for a little bit extra damage and possibly landed and killed them up easier. He throws another dart here. This time he bounces it off. I like the fact that he changes up his darts, which is really good. So they can't really expect where it's going to bounce. And he peeks it. Now, that's actually a really risky peek because there's still 0 info. And he pushes up and he has no clue where they are. And pushing down this hallway is very risky. So I would recommend for him to use his Owl Drone instead. But now that he kind of has info that they're like mid and they're probably not on A, like this is a very risky play, but the fact that it worked out was pretty good. So he gets a good flank on them. And he does get the pick and runs back, which is the right play to do. And he hears them running up short. So if I was him, I would probably have waited for his dart instead of just playing for aim duels, you know? He could have even pulled out the Owl Drone and then got the ulti kill as well, maybe, because he did have his ult in that position there. Next round here, he does the same dart, but this time a double bounce, which is, again, really cool that he changes it up. The only issue that I have with the double bounce is that they can push up faster than before the recon even drops, so they could definitely just lurk up on him here. And So he owl drones, which is definitely the right play to do because they could just lurk up on him. But because of the fact that he wasted both his recon and his owl drone, he's now gonna have 0 info. And you don't want to use two pieces of utility to find out like information of where an enemy might be in the same location within like a couple seconds, because it's just kind of a waste. I would have recommended him honestly to just like throw a recon dart, like just one bounce it, and even them killing it is probably enough information to just like for him to back up. But using his recon and his drone in the same place for it to get almost 0 value is kind of depressing. But luckily he did spot out the Yoru, so he can kind of like tell his teammates to be careful of the flank. And because he knows that the last guy is flanking, the Jet's able to kind of stick the defuse here, and they both peek him on lane as he tries to come up, and since it's halved, he gets the defuse, and the round is won because of that. Now again, he throws his recon dart, the 2 bounce. Like I said, the reason why I don't really like it that much is because if they're already pushed up like really close to the barrier where they first start, they can basically outrun that dart, the double bounce. So it's not that amazing unless somebody's like sitting all the way back. And luckily for him, somebody was sitting back, and then he tries to get the ulti after the ping, but doesn't get anything out of it. And that was just pretty unfortunate that he didn't get anything. But they're just running through the smoke here, and that turns out in his favor because the Reyna just ran through. He does throw his shock dart here, which again, I probably would personally not have used both of his shock darts here unless he had like more info. But now that this guy peeked here and then he throws it, it was a better play. But it's kind of risky for him to just wide swing out like that. So I would have instead used my drone. And then if he saw people, he could have maybe bounced it off the door, like the little like sides, or could have maybe bounced it a different way so he wouldn't be exposed. But luckily, this guy does whiff on him, so he doesn't get punished for that. Again, this round, he does change it up again. He doesn't throw his dart and saves it. The team calls a B push, but he sees that they're not pushing, so he should have went back a little bit faster because the team basically had 0 contact. So he does run back though. He definitely could have ran back a little bit faster, so the game sense aspect he definitely could work on a little bit there. And they get a pick mid for free. He doesn't see anything in A main. He had his recon dart here, which is what I personally would have just done instead of wasting his owl drone, because the recon dart does come back really fast, and if he needed the recon arrow and they push B site, he could have probably had it back for retake by the time they do get over there. So I personally would have used that, and then he could have used the owl drone as well later on, or for like info, for like when they lurk, or for retake. So but him using owl drone there is okay. It's not bad. It's just a very expensive piece of utility, so it's almost like not worth just shooting it out unless you can kind of almost guarantee it. And the way you can guarantee it is with your recon arrow, or by just jiggle peeking, or by your teammates, and etc. But even just like clearing out a site because he thought that they would be on site already is enough value for, and getting a tag as well is like enough value for the owl drone. But the recon dart could have done that and regenerated, and it would have been probably better because he could have, if they actually were pushed out onto a site, he could have used his owl drone on retake with his teammates, but instead he wasted it there. So, but luckily they weren't on site, so he doesn't get really punished for that either. He throws out his recon dart and gets a lot of pings off of it, which is pretty good, and throws his shock darts because they could be maybe in the smoke lurking up. And that's definitely a good play by him right here. Because he got that recon dart, like I said, if he wanted to get that guaranteed like information, he could have owl droned instead of using both of his shock darts, because if they were pushing up, he could definitely use them. But since they know that he used both of his shock darts, they might try to late push because of that, and he won't get as much value off of his darts. Now he gets his recon dart back again, and they do get the info that they rotated, so he rotates over, and he gets info here that they could be pushing up cat, so he holds it, and unfortunately loses the aim battle because he didn't really expect the Reyna to just run out with her knife like that. So that's just very unfortunate. This next round here, he is on A again and pulls out his recon and throws out the 1, and he gets a lot of people pinged here, which is pretty good. Tries to go for a little pre-fire and then runs back. He does throw a shock dart, and that's not a bad play again, like I said, but he doesn't know if that they're pushed up or not. So him using these shock darts here like this every single time is almost like them baiting the utility off of him. And it's kind of a bad play by him because he's getting his utility baited. So when they do actually try to push out, he can't use his shock dart. Instead, he, like I said, could use his owl drone, or maybe even listen for audio or wait for his recon to come back. And he gets a really nice kill here. Really nice clip because you don't expect him to just be sitting in this corner here, and wins the aim duel. But in this position here, as they throw that Reyna flash / Sky Flash, if he had his shock darts and was sitting on site still, like behind dice, he could have thrown those shock darts to get almost guaranteed value, which is what I probably would have done. But he instead does get the really nice clip off, which is really good. Absolutely pops off in that round. And for this last round, he does sit back of site here, kind of jump spotting the dice angle here to get info. He's holding out his recon dart to try to possibly throw it, but he ends up not throwing it, saving it for possibly info later. Now, him pushing up like that is kind of dangerous, even though he got the pick on Reyna, because he's definitely just exposed here, and Yoru could be lurking up here. We've seen him do it before, but luckily he wasn't there, so it was okay. And then he pushes up here short with Omen, which is good. If they're pushing aggressive here, they can trade, and his teammate gets the kill on market, so it ends up being a victory game. The thing about Diamond versus Immortals is that there's a lot of like game sense issues, I would say, which is like the biggest difference between the ranks. Because in Diamond, high plat, Immortal, most people have pretty good to decent aim. Having bad aim is not what holds people back. Yeah, it can sometimes lose you duels if you have bad aim, but a lot of times Valorant is very utility heavy, unlike a game like Counter-Strike. So you need to learn when to use your utility, when is the appropriate time to use it, how to use it, and how to get as much value as you can from your utility, especially on a character like Sova, where your utility is just so important to get value. And a lot of these clips, the reason why he dies or doesn't have as much impact is not because he doesn't have good aim, it's because he doesn't have good utility usage / really amazing game sense. And that's what he could definitely improve on. That's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed my commentary. It was pretty hard trying to follow along with the video and try to commentate and try to give my thoughts on every single round all at once, but I really tried my best, guys. So hope you guys enjoyed. Please drop a like, a sub, a comment, everything good, do all that good stuff. If you guys like the video, like it, and thank you for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.